Namo Buddhaya. Good evening. Welcome to the Buddha Dharma TV. I am Agnes Gay. Today, we begin our program, as usual, with a Buddhist blessings service. To have the desired calmness, please listen to the chanting mindfully and calmly.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma Sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manussanang buddho bhagavati swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akaliko eipasiko opanaiko pancantang veditambo vinyuiti supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho samici patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho yadidang cattari purisa yogani atta purisa punggala esa bhagavato savaka sangho auneyo pauneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyang kentang lokan sati.
Please join us for an upcoming insightful talk with the Venerable Dr. Bante Punyaji from Sri Lanka. Bante's insights are not only enlightening, but also remarkably rational, requiring your utter focus to unravel the profound depths of his Dhamma discourse. This is the second part of his talk. Don't miss out as he sheds lights on the rare topic. Happiness arises with meditation.
There was a student who was studying to get a PhD. So what he did was, on his door, he wrote PhD. So that every time he comes out of the door, he sees PhD. Every time he comes into the door, also he sees PhD. On both sides he has PhD. So his mind is always on the PhD. So he was studying. Ultimately he got the PhD because so this is why you should always put your goal as a picture on the wall or maybe on the door or in your room. So the more you put those pictures, now some people, these mainly the teenagers, they have a lot of pictures on the wall in the room, you see. If you put the wrong kind of picture, that will be your life. So you should always put the right kind of pictures. That is why we have all these pictures, life of the Buddha and the statues of the Buddha. So when you come here, you'll see only those pictures, and that means you are thinking of the Buddha and what you have to do. You also have to become like the Buddha. So the pictures help people to find their way. Because the images you have in your mind is very important. That is why in the meditation, you have to form pictures in your mind all the time. If you form good pictures in the mind, your mind can get purified through that. So it is, some people call it visualization or visual meditation. So if you want to stand out, ecstasy, you have to have in your mind standing out, not standing inside. So if you cultivate the right images in your mind, you will be able to stand out. Get out of these hindrances. The hindrances, they are called hindrances because they hinder you. They don't let you get out. They'll keep you inside. In the emotional world, the world of emotions, which is an unhappy world. When your mind is filled with emotions, you are unhappy. It's only when the mind is free of emotions, you will be happy. So happiness is not another emotion. It is the absence of emotions. So real happiness is a calm, tranquil state of the mind, free of emotions. So the real ecstasy is when the mind has been purified, free of emotions. So what is called the first ecstasy, there are 5 factors in the first ecstasy. So, another factors? What?
One-pointedness. You're talking about the first one?
No. Ekaggata is not one-pointedness. That is wrong translation.
Vitakka vichara.
Huh?
Vitakka vichara piti.
Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. You have to understand vitakka and vichara. Vichara means questioning. Vichara means questioning. What is this? This is a bag. What is this? This is, I don't know what you call this. Something that you hang on your ears. What is this? This is a book. So you have always a question and an answer. The question is vichara and answer is vitakka. Vitakka, vichara. So those 5 things you get in the first jhana. That means the first ecstasy. You have those 5 things. Vitakka, vichara, those 2 go together. Vitakka, vichara means questioning and answering. Now, if you are doing breathing meditation, you ask the question, what is this? This is breathing in. What is this? This is breathing out. So, any meditation, you are always asking a question and answering. You see, that means there are bad vitakka vicharas and good vitakka vicharas. Now in the hindrances, like kama chanda, what is this? A beautiful girl. That is the question and answer. The moment you do that, what happens? Passion, lust arises. That is the bad vitakka vichara. Good vitakka vichara is you are thinking only breathing in and breathing out. This is breathing in, this is breathing out. There you don't get the lust and the passion. You are relaxing the breathing in, relaxing the breathing out. As you relax, the whole body begins to relax. And all those agitations disappear. So, the vitakka vichara is only the good vitakka vichara is there. That means, what is this vitakka vichara? Questioning and answering. That is forming a concept. Forming a concept. Forming a concept. Vitakka vichara is what is called conceptual thinking, which is forming a concept. So whenever you form a concept, there is always a question and an answer. But here we are forming good questions, not forming good concepts, not bad concepts. Bad concepts are emotional concepts. I hate you is an emotional concept. Or I love you is also an emotional concept. You see? That also emotional concept. So, but here we are not talking about those emotional concepts. When you get out of that emotional world, ecstasy is to form only calming, relaxing concepts. And when that happens, your mind becomes free of emotions. When your mind is free of emotions, you become happy. And that happiness is the priti. Piti means happiness. You begin to feel happy. And not only your mind is happy, your body relaxes. When the body relaxes, you begin to feel very comfortable. That comfort is sukha. Sukha means that comfort. Sukha is the comfort. And when you experience that happiness and comfort, your mind is tranquil, undisturbed. The mind is without disturbance. It is not going in two different directions. The emotions pulling in one direction and the thinking pulling in another direction. That division into two is not there anymore. It has stopped. It has become unified. That unification of the mind is ekaggata. Eka means one. Eka agga. Agga means end. One end. There are no two ends. There is only one end. That is the meaning of ekaggata. It's not. Now some people go one-pointed, that is also correct in a way, because you are pointing only in one direction. The mind is pointing only in one direction. It is the undisturbed mind, the mind that is unified. And it is tranquil. Now you understood what the ecstasy is. Now you are really standing out of the emotional world. But you are still in the cognitive world. You are now in the cognitive world and not in the emotional world. But still the mind is active because you are doing the cognitive part is there. Now the emotional part is not there. But still you are having the cognitive part going on. Now the next step is to get into the second level, second ecstasy. You are coming out further. That is where you stop forming concepts. You don't ask, what is that? And you don't answer, this is a book. You don't question, you don't answer. And so your mind is not disturbed because you are not questioning, you are not answering. So you are not forming concepts, but your mind is happy and your body is relaxed. And therefore, you are feeling comfortable. And the mind is still because the mind is not going in two different directions. Mind is unified and still. That is the second ecstasy. When you come to the third ecstasy, that happiness is seen as a disturbance. Even the happiness is seen as a disturbance, and you stop that disturbance. So there is more peace in that state. Your mind is more peaceful there. And then that is the third ecstasy. And when you get into the fourth ecstasy, even the comfort disappears. That doesn't mean that you become uncomfortable, because there are three kinds of sensations: pleasant, unpleasant, and the neutral. You are getting into the neutral state, not the uncomfortable state. Your comfort also disappeared, and comfort and discomfort both disappeared, and you are in a neutral state, and the mind is tranquil state of the mind. That is perfect tranquility of mind. That is the fourth ecstasy. You have become completely tranquil. And in that tranquil state, your mind is not focused on anything outside. Now your mind is focused on what? The inside. And it is at that stage that you can become aware of the subjective experience, not the objective experience. And the subjective experience, which has been personalized, is now not being personalized. You are able to become aware of the subjective experience as an impersonal process. An impersonal process that is going on. And there is no personality there. An impersonal process that is going on. But still, what is going on is what is called the cognitive process. And it is that cognitive process that is going on. And you are aware of that cognitive process that is going on. And the cognitive process is simply Passa, Vedana, maybe really the Vedana and the Sanya. Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. The Vedana is the feeling of pleasure or pain or the neutral feeling. Now at this stage, in the fourth ecstasy, you don't have the pleasure or the pain, so you are only aware of the neutral sensation. The neutral sensation. And then you have the perception. That means you are aware of this seeing or the awareness of something. And then that is the sanya. Sanya is the awareness of something. And the awareness or the sensation, it is really the sensation. So the sensation and the feeling of the sensation. So when we speak of a sensation, and there are two aspects of this. The feeling, whether it is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and the sensation. Now it's difficult for you to distinguish between these two things. Now if you look at this picture here, what you see is not an object. What you see is the color. Because in this eye there is a thing called a retina, and there are nerve endings there. And light comes in the form of waves, having a wavelength or frequency. And these nerve endings, there are different nerve endings. One nerve ending can become aware of one frequency. That means you can see only one color. So different nerve endings see in different colors. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. So what you really see when you open your eyes is only color. But the color can be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. So Vedana refers to whether it is pleasant, unpleasant or neutral, and Sanya refers to the color, either the blue or red or white or what is the color. That is the Sanya. And then out of the color you create a figure. And if you say, the Buddha, that means you have created a figure out of the color. That is the Sankhara. Sankhara means construction. It's a mental construct. That's the meaning of Sankhara. Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara. But you are creating not only one object, you are creating several objects. And to distinguish between one object and another object, That is Vijnana. So Vijnana is the process of perception. That is called perception. Vijnana is not consciousness, just perception. Vijnana is perception. Now, what you perceive through the different senses it is carried to the brain through different nerves, optic nerve, auditory nerve, olfactory nerve, and like that, different nerves carry from the different senses to the brain, and the brain begins to think and reason out. That process is what is called cognition or recognition, recognition. You give meaning to what you saw or heard or smelled or tasted or touched. Now that process, you are now looking at the process of perception that is going on in the mind, what is inside. You are now focusing on what is going on inside. You are not looking at an object. You are looking at the looking. You are looking at the process of perception. That is, you are looking at what is normally called the five aggregates. What are called the five aggregates is really the process of perception, which is the subjective process that you personalize and call yourself. So you are personalizing the subjective process, and by personalizing that subjective process, you call it yourself. So, in that fourth ecstasy, you can become aware of that subjective process. Now, when you go beyond that, now you begin to stop that process of perception also gradually. That is the cognitive process. You enter the sphere or the you can call it the sphere also, what is called the sphere of infinite space. Space means what is empty. We don't see any objects there. You are only seeing empty space. You are looking at empty space. No more seeing objects, because that process of seeing objects has stopped. You are not aware of objects. You are only aware of empty space. That is, you are gradually stopping the cognitive process. You are not aware of objects anymore. You don't form objects. You don't ask the question, what is this? You don't answer the question, this is this. You're not forming any objects now. You're only aware of empty space. And then you begin to stop that also. You are taking your attention away from empty space. And you are looking at the process of perception. That is vijnananchayatana. Perception is vijnana. You are aware of the process of perception. And then you stop that also. You stop focusing on the process of perception. Then what are you aware of? You are aware of nothing. It's called akinchanyayatana. Akincha means there is nothing. But there you are focusing on nothing, and nothing becomes your object. When you begin to focus on nothing, nothing becomes the object. Then you stop even focusing on nothing. You are taking your attention away from nothing. Then you come to nema sanya na sanyayatana. You come to the point where there is neither sensation nor no sensation. You are not focusing on a sensation, you are not aware of no sensation. This is what is called the threshold of awareness. Then from there you go to the cessation of sensation and feeling. Sanya Vedaita Nirodha. The cessation of sensation and feeling. That is the stopping of that activity called cognition. That activity called cognition is stopped. First you stop the affective part of the activity. Now you stop the cognitive part of the activity. That is stopping that thing called mind altogether. Because mind is not an entity, it is an activity. and that activity is stopped. That is what the Buddha achieved. He stopped the activity. Is that the end of what he did? He didn't end it there. Then he came out of it again. And only when he came out of it, what did he see? That this whole world is created by this mental process. Not only the world, even yourself is created by this mental process. That is seeing what is called the Paticca Samuppada. So that becoming aware of the mental process is to become aware of experience. That mental process is what is called the experience. So he saw experience, but the experience is creating existence. So the existence is created by this mental process called experience. And the existence is not a reality. He saw there is only an experience. And the experience is an activity that is going on. It's the activity that we call the mind. But there is no such thing as mind. Mind is an entity created by this activity called experience. And that means even yourself that you are thinking of is a creation of this mental process. And there is no real self here. And if there is no real self, can you speak of death? If there is no self, there is no one to die. All that we can see is the impermanence of this activity. This activity is going on. There is no person here. And that is the end of all suffering, all unhappiness. It was these existential philosophers who thought the most basic truth is existence. But here the Buddha saw that existence itself is a delusion or an illusion. It is because we assume that we are existing, we also think that we are going to die. But if there is no existence, how can there be death? That is the freedom from death. This is why the Buddha set out to preach the Dhamma. Open is the door to immortality, deathlessness. Open is the door to deathlessness. Those who have ears can hear and be free.
Let's take a short break to enjoy a beautiful song called Love Will See You Home, a deeply meaningful and spiritually inspiring hymn from the I Gems album.
We are all impermanent. Is it strange to really learn that the only constant truth is change? Living calm and peacefully, let the Dharma be the key to we see Nirvana's day.
Feel the joy it shows so gently. My mind is kind. Now is the time. Now is the time.
'Cause the truth will shine through,
Faith will guide you,
and love will see you home.
truth will shine through.
Faith will guide you, and love will see you home.
Now there's nothing to do. Stay with the truth. There's nowhere to go. Stay with the flow. Equanimously. This is the joy of peace.
Rise above it all. Raise your hands, stand tall. Open up your heart. Are you part of the few who's woken up?
You're serene and joyful, love in you has given life to me. So here we are, you and I. Here we are, you and
I will sail across the waters to a land where love will shine, where my green grass is waiting just for me. I'll swim neath the rainbow where I'll never be alone. I am happy now that I am coming home.
Rain of Dharma, cooling down and clearing up the morning sky. Gift of Dharma is the pathway, guided journey of my life. Gift of Dharma is the pathway,
Save victims in states of dire and liberate the victimizers when I allow my heart to understand. It's a path to letting go. It's what we do, not what we know. Let us walk the eightfold way today. Letting go and kindness will meet. Be rested and be peaceful and keep things. I open the doors of my heart for you, for you, for you, for you. No matter what happens, these words are true. My heart stays open for you. No matter what happens, these words are true. My heart stays open for you.
Now, here is Venerable Dr. Chandana from the United States, who provides an in-depth explanation of the Ratana Sutta for the benefits of Dhamma enthusiasts. This is the second part of his comprehensive talk. Please join us in welcoming Venerable Dr. Chandana from the USA.
Ye arya satchani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani kinchapi te honti bhusappamatta nate bhavang attamang adiyanti idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena satchena subhati hotu. Those who realize the noble truths well taught by him who is profound in wisdom, the Buddha, even if they become exceedingly heedless, still they would not take an eighth rebirth into samsara. Who's he talking about? Sotapanna, yes. A Sotapanna will never take an eighth rebirth. And by the way, that is a very, very, very lazy Sotapanna. I would call him a dumb type of a Sotapanna. Why dumb? Because they're being heedless. They have seen the Dhamma, but they are procrastinating. They're saying, well, let me go ahead and enjoy some more sensual pleasures. Yeah, there's the Deva realms. I want to skulk around. I want to enjoy the Brahma realms. I want to enjoy nymphs. I want to go to Tavatimsa heaven and enjoy all these beautiful people, beautiful whatever. I want to have enjoyment. Or I don't want to practice sati. Well, this person, let's say they became a Sotapanna in this life, in this human birth. They're still alive, you know. Sometimes I've noticed in students, they attain to something like this, a stage like this, which is very lofty. They say, okay, I'm good, I'm good. What do you mean, you're good? I don't have to strive anymore, I'm good. At least I have Sotapanna, I'm okay. Why? Arahantship is right there. You could have the state of Arahantship any moment if you strive. Remember Bahia? He went through all those 8 stages, 4 stages primary, in one encounter with Lord Buddha. That laziness, heedlessness is what can cause a person to have 7 rebirths, but not an 8th. It's impossible. So sometimes, I won't mention names, but you have in different traditions where you have some teachers who are called by their students, oh, so-and-so is enlightened. Meanwhile, they also believe in that tradition that this person has been going again and again and again, coming in and again in different manifestations. Well, if we go with the Dhamma and we call ourselves Buddhists, that simply is impossible. Because at the very most, there should not have been this 8th rebirth for this so-called enlightened being. So, I will say that much on that. So you see now Lord Buddha is specifically talking about the Sotapanna, because again and again you see this mentioned where Lord Buddha is opening his heart and sharing it by declaring to Ananda. He says, he doesn't say the word I wish, but you can almost sense it. He says, I wish everybody would attain at the very least the Sotapanna stage. Because that guarantees that you will never be slaughtered again. You will never be visiting hell again. Never to encounter what it feels like to be burning in hell. People still believe that these things don't exist. This practice allows us to know the truth in what Lord Buddha taught. When you practice, you will see these for yourself. I come from a science background. I used to read about devas, this yaksas, this, that, devas and hell beings and animal realms. Yeah. Animals we can relate to. We know cats, dogs, we see them. Okay? Snail, ant, mosquitoes. But the other realms are so suspicious, especially if you're very scientifically oriented in your thinking. But trust me, they do exist. In fact, I would let you be the judge of that. Your practice will tell you the truth in this. They do exist. The hell realms are real. Just like the Deva realms are real. We live in a world where they have convinced us that if you are a so-called cultured, civilized, educated person, then you shouldn't believe in this mumbo-jumbo, hell realm thingy, afterlife thingy. That is one of the best tools that Mara uses, by the way. Because you take that out of the equation, that's what you have in the world, where you have so many powerful entities, organizations enslaving humanity. And they have no qualms about it. Banks stealing countries, bankrupting people. And they go home, have dinner with their loved ones. They say, I love you to each other. Because they simply have said to themselves, once I die, I don't exist, I don't feel anything, there's nothing. It's just oblivion, it's just blackness. So whatever I do, it's before. So if I can get away with it, more power to me. This is, if you recall from the earlier talks, nihilistic view, which is one of the favorite tools of Mara. So let's not be fooled that this is educated position. No, it's dumb position. Because you are sacrificing your whole entire life on this planet, an opportunity to practice the Dhamma. And it's being wasted. Even if they become exceedingly heedless, he says, still they would not take an 8th rebirth into samsara. Sahavasa dasana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahita bhavanti sakkaya ditti vichikichitancha silabbatang vapi yadathi kinchi chatuhapaye hicha vippamutto chacha bhitanani abhabbo katum idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena sachena suvati hotu. With the gaining of higher wisdom, he abandons three states of mind, namely the illusion of a personality view, skeptical doubt, vicikicca, and adhering to rites and rituals, which I mentioned earlier. These are the primary sangyojana. When the person drops these, they are basically seeing the Dhamma. This is what's called jnana dassana. The person has passed the point of no return. Even if they want to go back, they cannot. This is the first glimpse of freedom. This, because it has certainty in it. The person now speaks with so much certainty, they will stand in front of the whole planet while everybody's screaming at this one person saying you're wrong, and this person will never lose an ounce of courage because they are speaking from the Dhamma. They have tasted the Dhamma. That's enough. This is the transition point. This is what Lord Buddha was talking about. This is what the Dhamma is trying to inculcate in us. That's why the Dhamma is not rites and rituals. That's why the person laughs when someone comes and says, can we do some puja? Can we do this? And the person on the inside, they're just like going, oh no. Okay, sure, yeah. Because in reality, they have tasted the Dhamma. They know it's beyond that. If they can, they want to shake the person out of that coma. And some teachers have done that, have shaken their students. Literally. But that's one of the reasons why it's an unpopular position. So some teachers elect not to talk about this completely. And you go ahead and chant the sutta. Hey, yeah, we're chanting Ratana Sutta. And never get to the essence, the core of it. That this is talking about something totally different than getting rid of sickness. And sickness now, okay, later, what happens? You get sick and die again. Oh, what was that all about? How much? Come on. This is a permanent effect that you will have on your stream of consciousness, if you will. The moment you experience jnana dassana and these three fetters are dropped. That's why you never can go back to the four lower realms. It's impossible. It doesn't work. Okay. Kinchap, okay, so thus this person is wholly freed from rebirth into the four lower realms and therefore incapable of committing the 6 major wrongdoings. That includes killing of one's mother, one's father, injuring a Buddha, drawing blood, intentionally killing an arahant, all these things. Killing another person, they won't happen. It's impossible for this person, even a sotapanna, to do these things. If it happens by some means, they have to come out and say it, announce it. They can't hide it. They can't pretend that it didn't happen or blame someone else. It doesn't work. That's what makes the person Arya, noble, not one's birth, not one's color of skin or who they come from, what family, what religion they belong to. None of those things. Kinchapiso kammang karoti papakang. And this is where Lord Buddha is saying, if anyone goes ahead and does something bad, papaka means evil action. Kayena vacha uda chetasa va abhabboso tassa patichadaya ababbata dittha padassa vutta idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena satchena subhati hotu. Any evil actions he may still commit, whether by deed, physical deed, action, word or thought, he is incapable of concealing it. What a litmus test. What a sure way of knowing something. And it doesn't know time. Whether it was a Sotapanna from the time of Lord Buddha, whether it's a Sotapanna walking in the streets of Kuala Lumpur today, they still will adhere to the same principles because it is in the essence of the realization, the direct understanding of the person. The person is no longer the same person they were. And these principles that Lord Buddha is delineating are absolutely 100% valid today as they were then. Since it has been proclaimed that such concealing is impossible for one who has seen the path to Nibbana. That's why we call it Jnana Dassana, the knowledge and vision of Nibbana. Vanappa gumhe yatha phusitagge gimhanamase pathamasmin gimhe tathupamang dhamma varangadesai nibbana gaming paramang hitaya idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena satchena suvati hotu. As the woodland groves, the forest, though in the early heat of the summer month are crowned with blossoming flowers, even so is the sublime Dhamma that leads to the peace of Nibbana, which is taught by the Buddha for the highest good. It's refreshing. Even if it's hot, and you see these cherry blossom-like flowers on the trees, it makes you forget the heat of the craziness that the world that you're living in as a Sotapanna, because you always have the deathless to go back to. Even though you're in the middle of the heat of the craziness in the world, of avidya, and you have a lot of it still, but you have that oasis of Dhamma inside of you, which is unmoving. It grows though, it unfolds. It unfolds, because that Sotapanna does and could turn into one's returner, non-returner, and an arahant in that same very life. Varo varanyu varado varaharo anuttaro dhamma varanga desai idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena satchena suvati hotu. The peerless excellent one, the Buddha, the knower of Nibbana, the giver of Nibbana, the bringer of the noble path, taught us the excellent Dhamma. This precious jewel is the Buddha. By declaring this truth, may there be safety. Some have said that these words were coming out of Venerable Ananda's mouth, because here you can almost sense that he's pointing at Lord Buddha as he's describing. He's the giver of Nibbana, even though no one gives you Nibbana. But in essence, through the giving of Dhamma, teaching the Dhamma, in essence, he's giving us Nibbana. That's what Brahma Sampati said. The gates of the deathless are now open, he said. When Lord Buddha said, yes, I will teach the Dhamma. I will set the Dhamma in motion. That's why the gates were open. So he's the giver. He's the king of the Dhamma, we say. Kinang puranang navang nathi sambhavang viratta chitta ayatike bhavasming tekhina bija avirul hichanda nibbanti dhira yathayang padipo idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena satchena suvati hotu. With their past kamma spent, and no more new kamma arising for them. That means we are talking about an arahant. The arahant is the one who no longer makes new kamma. Some places it's called kiriya chitta, which means the action is committed there, but no vipakas are created. It's there, it ends there, just like bahya. When Lord Buddha said, when seeing bahya, just see. When tasting, just taste. When smelling, just smell. There is no attachment of me, myself. There is no asmimana, the conceit I am. This is happening to me. Why is this happening? No, none of that. Now, again, the arahant is not a vegetable. He's not a zombie. When he feels cold, he will put a jacket on. And when it's not, he might take off the jacket. End of story. There is no intention, there is no planning per se, agenda keeping. And no more new karma arising for them. Their mind is no longer attached to future re-becoming. There's no ponobhavika. There's no craving for re-becoming. I wonder what will happen next. If I do this, then if that happens, then I should do this. You're looking at life with fresh eyes. You're alive for the first time. As the seed of the desire for rebirth has been scorched and dead, they now live with no craving for reliving. Such wise men fade out of existence as the flame of this lamp which has just faded away. In the commentaries, they say that at that moment, a deva went and extinguished the oil lamp. Imagine this oil lamp. Invisible hands came and just went. And Lord Buddha doesn't even miss a beat. He says, just like this lamp that just went out. Where did it go? You had many lazy commentators. Lazy because they don't practice. That's the lazy, not the thinking. The mental acrobatics, intellectual, all those mumbo jumbo. They argued for centuries, and they still do, as to where does the Arahant go? Why don't you practice and find that out yourself? That would be a good response. Okay. So, and now we get to the section where Sakka is making a declaration. Sakka being the king of the gods, and everybody there is listening when Sakka is talking. He's the king of the devas. Yani dhabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantalikhe tathagatang deva manussa pujitang buddhang namassama suvati hotu. Whatever non-human beings that are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, come, let us all salute the Buddha, the Tathagata, the perfected one, honored and cherished by devas and humans. May there be safety. So this is like the seal of approval, this is Sakka saying sadhu, basically. Yani dabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantalikhe tathagatang deva manussa pujitang dhammang namassama suvati hotu. Now he's saying the same thing about the Dhamma. Whatever non-human beings that are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, come, let us all salute the perfect Dhamma, honored and cherished by devas and humans. May there be safety. Yani dhabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantalikhe tathagatang deva manussa pujitang sanghang namassama suvati hotu. Whatever non-human beings that are assembled here, whether terrestrial or celestial, come, let us all salute the perfect Sangha, honored and cherished by devas and humans. May there be safety. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The Dhamma is brought to life when we look at the suttas with fresh eyes. Not in the printed letters in a book or the digital form of it online. Is what we do with the Dhamma when we are lucky enough to receive it in our hearts. When Lord Buddha was asked as to the situations that within a person can become awakened, he mentioned 5. He said when someone is giving a Dhamma discourse, while they're teaching it, they could attain. The second is very pertinent to us. When someone is listening to the Dhamma, he says, they can attain. I know of someone who has attained Sotapatti just by listening to the Dhamma. In the 21st century, yes. Just listening to the Dhamma. But how? How we listen is the key. Is the key. Am I carrying so much junk in my head as to what I am expecting the Dhamma to sound like? So-and-so Bhante said this, so-and-so Ajahn said that. Well, wait a minute, in this sutta says this, how come? Too much jargon, too much noise. How can Dhamma set root into your heart with all that nonsense? So shake it off before you even sit on your cushion to meditate. Every time you're listening to Dhamma talk, or reading a book, reading a sutta, shake it all off. Don't presume. Nobody likes to eat stale food, right? Food from 2 weeks old, if you left it outside especially, would you like to eat that food? Everybody likes to eat fresh food when you eat. But some of the food, mental food that we have in there is so moldy. It's been there for decades. So, adopting a position, a mental, spiritual, if you will, position of being humble. Humility is so important. Humility not towards some speaker, not towards some Bhante. No, humility towards the Dhamma. That is what is the key here to remember. And that also includes when you break a sila. Don't be so harsh on yourself. I should not have broken that precept. Okay, you broke it, fine. It's a training rule. Remember, training, sikkhapadang. You're training. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, depending on the situation and the pressures or whatever. Okay, the key thing to remember, ask yourself, if I were to have the same situation again present itself, would I do it again? If I had the option, if somebody takes me with a time machine back, would I do it again? If the answer is no, that's good. Just say, okay, let me retake that precept. If it's musavada, you lied or you yelled or something, retake the precept right there and then. Don't let remorse come in. It's one of the worst things. Kukucha. It drags you. Whatever good qualities you have, that also goes out into the trash. Drop it. So that also requires humility, kindness. Remember, metta towards you. Don't expect it to come from someone else. First, it has to come from us. So I will stop here and ask if there are questions. Yes.
One thing, just want to know, just now you mentioned 4 pairs, right? That 8 make up the, it's I think like you cross a stream and then someone who have realized it become a sotapanna. So that makes up the 8 pairs, right? So
the magga, which is the path,
right.
But that person, it's not settled yet.
Yeah.
That level is not rested yet.
Correct. So that person who's just about to cross will eventually cross or not?
Yes, if
or,
they...
or, that one can still fall back. And only those who arrive to Sotapanna will remain, but those who are just trying to cross, can they still fall back? Like not crossing at all at the end. But they tried, they attempted.
I'm waiting for your question to be over because I don't want to be interrupting you.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard from other teachers that the person can fall out of that state. I am not of that understanding. Because the experience is so earth-shattering for the person. They might not still be settled into it. It's like, I'm going to give you a mundane, very mundane example. In no way does it do justice. But imagine you have finally found that comfortable shoes. Even though it's comfortable, but it's not very as comfortable as it could be after you've worn it for some time, right? Same thing with clothing, etc. Glasses. But it's far deeper than that. Because, why earth-shattering? Because the person now, depending on how much of an attachment they have had to their old personality view, they often would end up doubting the experience, especially if somebody points it out to them and says, okay, you've reached that stage. I've had people who would come and start arguing with me. No, it's impossible for me to have attained it, Bhante. That's not possible. It's not possible. Why? That means that the person now is struggling. It doesn't mean that they have vichikiccha necessarily. Now, even though the Sangyojanas are mentioned, 3 of them being dropped, sometimes people say they're completely removed. That is not true. They're not completely removed. But they are removed, but the person has a relationship to it. The closest example to this is this. Have you ever had any tooth fillings? Okay, if it's made of the lead, the material that they would use, the metal. Remember in the old days, 70s, 80s, the mercury, yes, mercury. Eventually they came up with porcelain and things like that. So you go and you find yourself a very good dentist with latest technologies, and they have the ability to remove it. They remove it, and then they put porcelain around it. But something is left behind. A little bit of the coloration, or discoloration in this case, on the enamel of the tooth is still there. You go look for the mercury, it's not there though. It's similar to that. But there's no mercury. But the person now has to negotiate with this new self-image that they have, because they're not arahants yet. Because they're now because they still have attachment to views, to ideas, as to how this experience is supposed to be. Because they read about Anathapindika, they read about others, they read about Chitta, the layperson who became an anagami. As a layperson. He had 4 wives, you know. Not after being an anagami, though. He gave up those relations. He became sisters with them. You cannot engage in sexual activities if you're an anagami, for example. But coming directly back to your question, whether the person attains to the fruition stage of any of these 4 during their lifetime or not, before they die, they will attain the fruition stage. Before they die. It might be at the very last minute of their life. That would be the jumping board, the springboard for them to attain. It is, so my answer would be no to that other Thera's explanation that it's very flimsy, you can come out of it. No, I'm not of that camp. If the person has experienced even Magga, it's so earth-shattering that it changes the person enough to want to see themselves in a brighter light. Because ultimately what will happen is Sila, Samadhi, Panya will transform themselves into the higher version, meaning Adi Sila, Adi Chitta, Adi Panya, in the Arya Savaka, In the Seika, we call them the noble disciple in training, until they become arahants. So don't worry. Attain to the Magga path level of Sotapatti and you're good. But chances are you will not want to stay there. You will be itching to move up, which is how it's supposed to be. And in many ways, it's like a student who gets to the 10th grade, and now they want to move up to the 11th, and then they want to go to the 12th, etc. But that also is not a very good analogy, but that's the one that came to mind, because it is very transformative for the person. The quality of life changes. Colors have a different look to them. Colors even. The three-dimensionality of life changes when you look at things. I had one individual, one bhikkhu say, it is like, have you seen the movie Avatar? Yeah. When you first watched it, the colors are so vibrant. They're almost like popping out of the screen of the TV or the movie screen. They're so light, like you're almost touching them. It's like 3D. And the way he described it was beautiful. That after a person attains that, they will be experiencing colors in a similar fashion. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to that. It's like almost like you have eyes. I like to describe it as somebody just granted you a new set of eyes when you were blind. Will your relationship change towards the world? I hope that answers your question. Yes, sir.
Can I ask, how many years of experience do you need to attain Sotapan? How will we know? Maybe I start practicing, how would I know whether I attain or not? Maybe how many years? Is there any experience on that?
The worst thing you could do is when you have these hidden, I call it personal agendas, which comes from all the junk that I was mentioning. Especially it comes when you hear commentators and their own ideas, and especially many of them are never actually set foot, they've never experienced any of these 8 stages, but they are experts apparently, somehow. It's like somebody who never swam writing a book on swimming. We laugh, but that's what we have. So, as far as years ago, I actually, when I first went to the United States, I had done wushu in the past in Lebanon, so I practiced martial arts, Chinese martial arts, kung fu. And I finally met this very well-known, legitimate teacher of different styles of martial arts, and an elderly Chinese grandmaster. And I met him, and he spoke very little English, and we had a translator in between us. And I asked him, because I wanted to learn Bagua, and which is, walking martial arts is very, that's what I used to use a lot, and I used to practice. And he said, yes, I will teach you that. And I said, how long will it take me to master it? And he laughed. I think you know where this is going. And there's a story which I'm reminded of now. There was a person, a traveler in a foreign country, foreign land, and he was walking. And so finally he gets to see some form of civilization by seeing this farmer in his field, plowing away. And he says, excuse me, sir, how far is it to the city? The man looks at him, and he just keeps on plowing. The man asks him again, the stranger. Again, this one now is not even paying attention to him. So he says, okay, I guess these people in this country are very uncivilized and very rude. So he continues on his path, and suddenly the man behind him says, 1 hour and 15 minutes. He stops, turns around, and he says, why didn't you tell me when I asked you? And the man says, the farmer says, well, I didn't know how fast you were going. I had to see your pace. Similarly, there is no set in stone type of a time period. That would be nonsensical. That would be rather stupid, if you allow me. Because many people have stopped their progress because of that. I've even heard some Mahatheras, very well respected Mahatheras, who said, you cannot even experience this, the fourth jhana as a layperson, which is absolutely nonsense. You don't see an example of this in the suttas. Not only that, they said a layperson cannot experience Sotapatti. Who said that? Nowhere in the suttas do you see that. In fact, you see the opposite. So many lay people became anagamis. Hattaka of Alavi, Chitta were two examples. Visakha was another example who attained, and they were very notable Dhamma teachers, enough so they would teach the Dhamma to Mahatheras. Bhikkhus of Lord Buddhas, they would teach them. As far as the time, therefore, it's totally up to the person. Now, of course, the person's merits, punya, this and that, can have a role to play. Can or could. But that should not stop the person from exerting the energy to go all the way. My urgency is this. Imagine you only have 5 minutes left on this planet. Would that change your relationship to the Dhamma? Many people say, well, I'll practice when I have the time, Bande. I used to use that question a lot in therapy sessions. When people were saying, I hate this person, I hate my father, I hate my mother, I hate my husband, my wife, da-da-da-da-da, all these things. I say, okay, imagine someone calls you on the phone and they say, look at the news, watch the news, there's an asteroid coming and we only have 5 minutes left. What happens to that hatred that you have towards your loved one? Is it still there? I doubt it. Poof, gone exactly. So the key thing, rather than that question, because not every question deserves a legitimate answer, because not every question is worthy of an answer. But what I would offer this in turn is this. How much sangvega does the person have in his heart? That is the necessary ingredient. That is what differs within a person who is a Sotapanna and a person who is not. Unfortunately, that's why you have a lot of bhikkhus on this planet. Theravada. You've heard me talk a lot about this, and I will talk about this until my last breath. Because that is what Lord Buddha also wanted from the bhikkhus. He would look at the congregation of bhikkhus, and there's a few times where he says, he smiles, and Venerable Ananda says, Bhante, why, there's the Tathagatas, when they smile, there's got to be a reason. You're smiling. Why are you smiling, Bhante? And Lord Buddha says, I'm smiling because I look at this assembly, and he says, the lowest level of attainment is a Sotapanna. Wow. Lowest. How though? Because they had the urgency, sangvega. Even putting on the robes has to come from sangvega, not a matter of circumstance or convenience. That's why I believe the whole system has to change, in Asia especially, where children should be sent, could be sent, if the family wants to, if the child wants to stay in a monastery, but they need to be pulled out. They need to be exposed to life, and then by choice, now the adult has to go, and if they choose to, then they have to be proving themselves worthy for the robes. That is going to make sure that we have legitimate Sangha. Otherwise, it's just like, yeah, we'll do something. It's like the blind leading the blind. But unfortunately, like we know from the law of thermodynamics, the second law, energy moves from a state of orderliness to disorderliness, to chaos. This is something we cannot control. Lord Buddha could not control that, unfortunately. So the key thing is Samvega. How much Samvega is in the person's heart? That will guarantee the success in nobility or the failure. Almost 8 billion of us will fail. Almost every one of us will fail because the urgency is for something else. It's for money, it's for wealth, it's for having a family, it's for having children, it's for having grandchildren, it's for having fame. That's not Samvega. So a person like that can even become a monk. I had one person say, in order for you to attain even the first jhana, you had to meditate for 40 years in a hut. 40 years. Human years, not dog years. Look at the ridiculousness. So that is up to the pace of the person, like that farmer did. I love that story. I don't know if it really happened, but it's a lovely anecdote. I hope I was able to somehow respond to your question.
Maybe you can give us a recommendation of what we should be doing to attain that level.
Why do you think I shared with you the metta today? That is powerful, because we have lost the connection with ourselves. People don't know how to smile. If I showed you pictures of my teenage years, you don't see me smiling. Really. I had a miserable childhood. I was subject to abuse of all kinds. So I didn't see that there was a reason for me to feel joy, happiness. Dhamma gave me that. Giving my time to others gave me that. And it gives, so long as there's breath, air, oxygen in your lungs, and it's working, you have the potential to have jnana dassana while you are alive. But that has to be allowed in your mind. You must relinquish your restrictive attitude towards the possibility for nibbana. Many of us are holding that so closely. No, it doesn't happen to me. It happens to some other person. Why? Who said that? Who said that? So we have all these delusional ideas. Every time you're breathing, you're actually dying to the past. Meaning you are boarding to the newness, freshness. Can you look at Dhamma with those fresh eyes? So that would be a good way to be on the right path. So I hope that helps. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? I think Brother Leslie has a question.
Yeah, Bhante. Thank you for that kind sharing. But I'm now struggling with myself, trying to understand what the Buddha was trying to tell Ananda. Can you help us to put it into a nutshell? What was it that the Buddha was actually trying to teach Ananda or to tell the people in Vesali at the end of the day? Because they were suffering. So what was the Ratana Sutta actually all about in relation to what was happening in the vicinity? What was the message that the Buddha was trying to tell us, or rather Ananda for that matter? So can you just try to explain it to us in a nutshell?
By pointing out the relevancy of the Dhamma, by pointing out the differences in what people were looking for safety. Meaning, we have gone through this major global experiment where we have lost our sanity, basically, by attaching mercilessly and in a crazy fashion to the body and its so-called health. For that, we have sacrificed our dignities, integrity, common sense in many, many places. Families are now far distant from each other, emotionally, disconnected in some cases, because of the adherence to what they thought they should be doing, for the sake of fear, panic, delusion, basically. That's what was happening in Vesali. I wasn't there, but having read enough suttas to have an idea about Venerable Ananda and how he was very of an empathetic type. He was an empath, but he also loved working with people. He loved being a liaison between people and the Buddha. So he was too far leaning into the world. I'm mentioning Venerable Ananda because you specifically asked what was his intention, Lord Buddha's. Lord Buddha, as a very, very good teacher, the greatest of teachers in my book, being the way he was, so compassionate, he never worked with just one intention in mind. It's always, 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 however you look at it, it's multifaceted. And that is a good hallmark of a good or a great teacher. They never go from A to B to C to D. It's not linear. It is non-linear. They work on multi-levels. So he was also teaching Ananda something. Because Ananda was the kind of a Sotapanna who did not have the Sangvega. He said, hey, I'm the ambassador of Dhamma. I am the liaison. Whenever somebody wanted to talk to the Buddha, I am the one who's making that happen. And he has some you have many, many good suttas where Ananda is giving good sound advice. Let's not take that away from him. But as far as Lord Buddha was concerned, as far as his noble friends were concerned in the holy life, like Venerable Anuruddha, his teacher, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggalana, they were always like pushing him, like, Ananda, sit down and meditate. You can almost see that. But he was always rushing, doing something else, because he saw that to be more important, which has elements of laziness. Don't be ashamed. Yeah, procrastination. He didn't have the urgency. That's why it took him until he was 80 years old, until Lord Buddha died afterwards for him. So, as far as the message goes, as I've mentioned several times today, it is about the Arya Savakas, the true jewel. Specifically, you do have the mention of the other two jewels, yes. The Buddha and the Dhamma, yes. He mentions it in the beginning verses, yes. But as you saw, he is breaking it down to the essential parts of what is a Sotapanna. What does it mean? And if you notice, he doesn't talk about that much at all, actually, about the once returner or the non-returner. He talks about the Sotapanna and the Arahant, if you noticed. So many of the verses were talking about the Sotapanna. That is how much emphasis Lord Buddha wanted to place when he said, at the very least, I would love for you to attain Sotapatti. At the very least, because that guarantees that you will never, ever, ever visit the lower realms. What a beautiful gift. And if you owe anything to Lord Buddha, it's that. Every one of us owes if we owe anything, is to make ourselves sotapannas. That is how you can start repaying Lord Buddha. Go ahead. That is the challenge. Do it. That is the main message here. Is it doable? Absolutely. Otherwise, I wouldn't be screaming my lungs out since, actually, before I joined here. Over Zoom, remember? It's joy, but we have to permit ourselves to be joyful. We're expecting somebody else from outside to come and give us permission to attain. You don't need anybody's permission. Not a bhikkhu for sure. The reason why a bhikkhu exists is first and foremost to attain that very same state that I'm urging you to, meaning sotapanna. If my objective as a bhikkhu is not to attain that I am eating the food of the good, hardworking lay people for naught. It's in vain. I must deserve the food that is given to me. The four requisites, the roof over my head, the medicine, the robes. That is the attitude with which every bhikkhu should abide by. This world will be a wonderful place, and the sasana's life will be extended, for sure. But you don't have to wait for the bhikkhus to actually have this life transformative decision. Do it yourself. Taste it yourself. Lord Buddha did not say, well, this is only for the bhikkhus. Oh, no, 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 no. The majority of the three category of awakened ones, Arya Savakas, were lay people, you know. Bigger in numbers. Most of the white-clothed upasakas and upasikas who were there, they were Arya Savakas. Lay disciples. Not bad, huh?
Bante, I've got a question on Ratana Sutta. So it seems Ratana Sutta is very powerful. There's a lot of elements in Ratana Sutta. The Dhamma, the triple gems, even the Dhamma is being praised by Sakas, the Devas. Right? My question is, or rather I have this curiosity, during the time of pandemic, the coronavirus, all over the world, we've been chanting Ratana Sutta. So Bante, could you perhaps maybe explain to us what is the best way to explain to someone who asks us, as Buddhists, the best answer to tell them, why do you chant Ratana Sutta during the coronavirus pandemic? What is the element there? Is it the Dhamma? Is it the morality? Is the declaration of, in the beginning we said to ward off evil spirit. What evil spirit are we talking about in the 21st century? Is that in humanity or morality? So perhaps maybe Bante could share with us the best answer to give. Thank you.
If you've ever cleaned your house or a table or a desk or a white sheet like this, there's something that landed, something that you want to scrape off to keep it clean. What must you make sure of first about yourself, about your contribution, about cleaning it? To make it faster, quicker, is easier. You would look at your hands. Are my hands dirty? Do I have grease on it? Because I'm about to touch something that's crisp white. I might actually smudge it even worse, right? Sometimes, you would have the whiteboard in classroom and the eraser is very dirty. And there's a line that you want to erase and you use the eraser without looking how dirty it is and you just do this and all of a sudden you made it worse. So it's similar to that. When we are hoping to have Ratana Sutta by some magical means to do something in the world where so-called evil spirits would be vanished, It's very similar to, and a person is not practicing sila, not practicing samadhi. It's like the person having a dirty hand, doing that to try to clean up the white sheet. It's not going to help. So like I was saying, in the sutta itself, again and again, Lord Buddha is saying it clearly as to what it is that we are trying to do. The attention is not towards the evil spirits. The evil spirits, if they were there, or the negative energies, the negative thinking patterns versus the positive thinking patterns, you can use that. It doesn't have to be evil spirits. Many people don't believe that. That's fine. Negative thinking is the same. You put out certain frequencies with your thoughts, with your brain, when you're thinking negatively. That is testable. We see that measured. So first you have to make sure you're cleaned up. So at the very least, by you chanting this, now that you know the meaning, to go ahead and work on yourself, because now you've cleaned up your hand. Whatever you touch, it's not going to affect it. That is what the Ratana Sutta is trying to do. People, unfortunately, because they're coming from idiotic expectations, and we owe this a lot to Buddha Ghosha, as always, and other commentators who have come to Sri Lanka over 1,000 years after the Lord Buddha's passing, and they took the Ratana Sutta and they added the rites and ritual flair to it to get more people to come and listen to the chanting. Make donations to the Grand Mahavihara monastery in Anuradhapura. You see the politics? You were not dealing with Arya Savakas there. So sometimes we neglect to consider these factors. Because when you are sharing with people this secret mantra, you have that in Tibetan Buddhism or this and that, or this secret prayer. You go to Thailand, people love amulets, love tiny little things. Oh, take this to this Ajahn, let him pray, and this will be warding off bullets and things. You have even monks who get tattooed certain chants so that they can get prayed. But what about the Dhamma as my best protection? What happened to that? That tells you something, doesn't it? The hand is not clean. So the Ratana Sutta is trying to show you, hey, clean your hand first. When you clean your hand, you don't have evil spirits to worry about. Because your heart is clean, your sila is beautiful, it's there. You're protecting others. Because when we have debacles in the world, that means there is not enough sila. That is what you see in the Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and all the other suttas, where Lord Buddha says, when debacles happen, it's because people have relinquished their virtuous lifestyle. They're not practicing the Eightfold Path, basically. But then again, you go ahead and, yeah, I'm not practicing this, and I'm cheating this, and I'm lying there, this and that, but let me go to the temple and I'll pay the bhikkhus, or I'll chant, I'll take the 8 precepts for that day or that weekend, I should be good to go. While I go back and resume to my normal lifestyle of dirtying my hand. Well, no mantra, no sutta is going to help you. You know? That is totally unwise. But unfortunately, you have this promulgation, this encouragement on part of the monastic community over centuries, where they have trained people to think that the suttas will help you. Meanwhile, in the Ratana Sutta, clearly Lord Buddha is saying, rites and rituals, that adherence drops. Look at the irony. In the sutta, Lord Buddha says, drop the rites and rituals. In real life, Ratana Sutta is being used as a part of our rites and rituals. Go figure. Do you see how stupid human beings are? If they don't apply wisdom, and this path is all about wisdom. Make sense? I will have to stop because my throat is and I still have another 3-hour retreat coming up at 9 tonight, with virtually, so with students. But I hope this was helpful to listeners. Good. Good. I'm glad. And again, we went over the 2-hour mark. I gave up. All right. The buzz. Oh, yes. True. That's a good idea. Let us share some merits. Akasatha chabumata devanagamahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu lokasasanam. Akasatha chabumata devanagamahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu desanam. Akasatha chabumata devanagamahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mam paranti. Sadhu, sadhu. May you be well. Sukhi hotu. May the blessings of the Triple Gem be with you and your loved ones.
That wraps up today's broadcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact us at info@buddhadharmatv.com. We work hard to share the noble, peaceful, and sublime teachings of the Buddha with you, and helping you pursue the spiritual path under his wisdom. Please encourage and support those interested in the rational and enlightened teaching of the Buddha. We believe our programs on Buddha Dharma TV will inspire peace lovers around the globe. Good night.